Welcome to the video show, where we show you tips and techniques to help you on your film set. I'm Daniel Norton, and today we're talking about setting marks. So for this episode, we wanted to go over setting marks. So just to keep things really loose, we came up with a basic idea that we were going to work with, which was a girl getting a cup of tea, and then we went to the location and we just went from there. So once we got to the location, we just put the actress in a few places where we thought she'd look correct, and we just kind of looked, figured out our camera angles before we started setting everything up. For this particular scene, we decided to keep the lighting really open, and since we're in a daylight studio, we mostly use the daylight in here with just a tiny bit of kick, just to give a little highlight in her eyes when she turned. So once we had our camera angle set up, we had the actress walk in and out of the set a few times so we could see where she looked best, and then we set her marks. We set a starting mark, and then also an ending mark. And then we had her practice a few times walking back and forth so she didn't have to keep looking down every time. We wanted her to get a feel for where the marks are. So with Marisa at her second mark, Dave, acting as AC, preset the focus on her and marked the follow focus. The other thing we did was we focused on a foreground element, in this case a refrigerator magnet. That gave us something for the viewer to look at until Marisa stepped into frame, and then we gradually focused onto her. So in the next part of the scene, Marisa pours tea, but to keep our life simple, we decided to shoot her next move now. So we moved Marisa forward to where we wanted her to stop next in the studio space, and Dave marked that spot on the ground. At this point, Marisa looks off to her left side, and we put an eyeline mark on the wall for consistency. So the reason why we used an eyeline mark instead of having her look at, let's say, the actual object that she was looking at, was because for our camera angle, for our lighting, it looked better for her to look to her left, so that's how we did it. You could really have put anything there. We're using spike tape here, which is the more typical thing to use, or you could use a piece of gaff tape to mark it on the ground. But if you're doing, let's say, a wide shot where it's going to show up, you can also just find something in your environment. In this space, actually, there's concrete squares in the floor, and I could have just picked out a square for her to stop on. Or if you're in the street, you could pick, put a piece of dirt there, or line up with something on a wall, or make a mark in the sand if you're on the beach that the camera can't really see. So the next part, Marisa needed to walk over to the chair. Because again, we couldn't leave a mark on the chair, but we could use the chair as a mark. So Dave focused a little bit on the chair, got a little practice kind of where he was going to do, because he was going to actually rack focus as she was moving. Try to keep her as best as possible in focus. So for the next move, we didn't set up a mark because the magazine itself was the mark. When you're dealing with objects and the actor picking them up and putting them back, just have them rehearse with the AC so you make sure you nail the focus perfectly. That's a technique we used as well with the tea. We had all the props in place. We made sure everything was right before we even made the tea. That way we weren't having to waste the tea or having to wash the cup every time. We did it with empty utensils in the beginning. So take some of these techniques out into the field, post some replies here. I'd love to see your work. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. For Adorama, I'm Daniel Norton, and this has been The Video Show.